What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Spill the Teaquila. Boy, I'm super blue here for some reason. What is going down, everybody? I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Outlaw Nation. Joined as always by the king of swag himself, Winston A. Marshall. How are you, Winston?
You know, it's funny. I was having one of those days where I was like, this is not a bad day. You know what? I woke up at a decent time. I woke up and hit some push-ups, and we've been doing this kettlebell swing challenge. You got to do 100 a day. Nice. My legs are killing me. I got through work. It was grueling, but I got through it. It was fine. And then I got to my last customer of the day.
Oh no! And
when I tell you, I could immediately tell that this cat was on some sort of drug, because he was like, I can't get my gift cards to work. I said, okay. I'm like typing. It's a chat. I'm in the middle of typing. He goes, hello. And I was like, I'm here, sir. It takes a minute to type. And he goes, will this be fast if I just use the phone? I was like, potentially, because I have to type, but sure. He goes, these ain't working. I was like, all right. So I started to look it up. Hello. I was like, I just got the gift card number. I got to open up the website. I got to put it in, sir. Will you please just bear with me for a minute? He goes, man, this is stupid. This company is dumb as hell. I got $120,000 worth of stuff that I would want to sell to y'all. I don't want to sell it no more. You can't get it because y'all are terrible. Your shit is terrible. Wow. Rates me bad, throws you guys suck in the comment, and then bounces. And I'm like,
wow.
I'm gonna kill somebody. You gotta be kidding me. Like, I wish I could see this man, because I guarantee you he is either on some on that stuff that Walter White was making, or he's on that stuff that they jokingly used to call the Hannah Montana, the Migos did, if you know what I'm saying.
He might be on the ketamine, right? A lot of people on the ketamine nowadays.
I've never seen people on ketamine move that fast, though. Was the speed at which he decided to berate me.
Yes,
was either meth or that other stuff that is another word for the rival of Pepsi. I don't know if we get demonetized for that, but it felt like one of those two. Yeah. Hello, sir. Can you chill? Like, good God.
That's why I do not miss retail in any way, shape, or form. I do not miss retail at all. Oh my God, the people just come in. Let me holler at you for a second. Let me holler at you. Like, what?
Bro, what number of times, come on, brother. You can't. Literally, probably one of my favorite scenes in all of movies is Kevin Hart berating Remy because that is exactly how it goes, especially if you are of any sort of minority group, especially black folk. The immediate need to be like, come on, brother, hook me up, man. You know, I don't know you. Hey, you. I mean, be my. Don't be that dude. Be my. I'm not knowing. Were you somebody? Ty, like that whole sequence is amazing because it's very accurate.
It's cloudy with a chance of drive-by. Yeah, I love that. that whole scene is the best. That whole scene is the best.
It's cloudy with the chance. I forgot about that.
and then Jane Lynch going like, "You go handle it. You're the boss now." And Steve Crow walks up and he's like, "You friends with him? Oh, you kept some too." I mean, that scene is amazing because you're
boy.
Right.
Yeah, that's my boy. We rep the same smart tech. Both y'all. What did I do? It don't even matter. Like, genuinely, we got to watch
true, man.
That whole movie. All of those people were kind of doing stuff, but that really, in my opinion, put all of them on the map. Jane Lynch, Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd. I know it done Freaks and Geeks with Rogen and all that, but it done Clueless. But I really feel that there was a whole different era post that movie for everyone involved.
I think Danny McBride's in that movie too, and Elizabeth Banks has a great cameo.
Elizabeth Banks is great as the book girl who gets a little too excitable in the tub. You had genuinely everybody. Jonah Hill was the one trying to buy the space boots. Right, that was like his first major thing.
That's 40-Year-Old Virgin. They're thinking 40-Year-Old Virgin when
I'm talking 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I'm talking. Yeah, it is right. That is
40-Year-Old Virgin. Damn, I would have whooped your ass in the showdown on that one.
You're right. You're right. That is the same movie. Sheesh. Yeah, because I get that. And wait, and that's the one. Kat Dennings as well, right? She's in that as well.
Kat Dennings she's the daughter. So when she comes in with her boyfriend, and then he just doesn't know how to use condoms, so he's broken like 20 of them. And then she's like, "Oh my god, all right, this is bullshit." And then all of a sudden, the boyfriend comes in and just goes up to Steve Carell, and goes, "Teach me." Like, that movie is so good.
I love the little kid in the sex, whatever it is that they're having the sex seminar with everybody. He's like, "Do you have extra large condoms?" And you don't have an stop.
You don't need extra large. You have a tiny deep penis. Yeah, no, dude, that movie is fantastic.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Listen, guys, if you don't know that off the bat, this show is going to be like a fucking go wherever it goes show, because I'll be honest with you, I had a really tough day today for me. Mental health day. It was a rough day today. I almost didn't do a show until about an hour ago. I finally decided to do it. I know Winston and I were talking about it, but I almost texted him an hour ago. I was like, you know what? I need a break. But then this story broke on EW and these interviews with James Gunn. I'm like, okay, now maybe I'm excited, and I want to hang out with my brother Winston and have some fun conversation. So this is going to be a chill ride. We are so appreciate you all. Already over 115 people hanging out with us, and I just put this up 5 minutes ago on Twitter. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and I appreciate you all scheduling your Tuesdays to hang out with me and Winston A. and have these fun conversations about what's going on in the world. But it's chill. It's chill tonight. So don't come after us for anything. Don't be upset that we're not going linearly through a damn thing. It's Spill the Teaquila. And by the way, everybody's attacking California, for God's sake. So there's a lot of shit going on in the world.
What? Hold the fort. I'm gonna put on my other headphone. I need to go get some liquor. This if we're doing this, I'm gonna get some liquor. Hold on. I'll make sure I can still hear
liquor,
you.
Man. Get some liquor, man.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right. These are the days, man. You know, Winston's coming right back. But yeah, these are the days. Some of the days you wake up, you have no idea how you're going to feel. And today I woke up and it was a mental health day. I could just sense it. I could tell. I was like, damn it, it's one of those days. You just never know when it's coming. For those of you who don't have this, I highly, highly am jealous of you and envy you madly. But those of us who struggle with this stuff, it always creeps up. You never see it coming, and you have that day. And so today was just that day. You know, I did some stuff, worked on some things, but I'm so happy to be doing the show tonight. I'm in I'm in a better place to talk about all this stuff. So I appreciate it, man.
I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that. I think a lot of times there's definitely a space of people working too hard through moments like that, and that's not good. There are other times where sometimes the work is a good distraction. It'll get you away as long as you're still keeping yourself somewhat in reality. But I would actually push back, because I know a lot of people. Most of the people that don't, not at you, but no, specifically, there's one statement you said about for those that don't deal with depression. I would make the argument that there are people in the world that maybe they aren't dealing with it as much. But everybody at one point or another does actually deal with it. If you are blessed with the system or even the brain chemistry that it is infrequent, then great. But the one truth I want to just dispel is, because, you know, since we are spilling the tequila and we call out a lot of stuff, I think there's this weird masculinity thing, especially in the Black and brown communities, of just like, you don't have depression, get to work. Like there's this weird thing that happens there, and people got to realize we are dealing with trauma in so many different ways. It might even be something where it's something happening to like a family member or like a partner, and not to you directly, but that stuff ripples because we have empathy and we care about those that are important to us. So that's the only pushback. That's not of what you're going through. It's that I believe personally that everybody deals with this.
Yeah, probably true. Yes, at some level and in some varying amounts. 100% true. I'm very happy that I'm in a place where it rarely happens, because there were periods in my life where it was daily. And this is something that just every once in a while pops up, and I have to navigate the day and be like, it's okay. You know, you're not, you know, look at your blessings, look at things that are going on in your world. There's a lot of positivity and things like, remember to focus on that stuff, you know? So it's always a conversation, and you've got to find your tools and things of that nature. So yeah, that's the way it is. So today is my spill your mental health day. Yes, it's spill your mental health day. Absolutely, Jeremy. Absolutely. Thank you so much. But yeah, like I said, the Streamlabs super chats are open if you want to send in love as we go along. What's your mental health day? Do you have a mental health day today? What do you do to kind of get through those moments? Send in your super chat, send in your Streamlabs, send in some love here as we go along and have this conversation. But we do have topics for the show. And let's get into the first topic. And this might be a bit of a long topic, Winston, because there was a new interview today with Mr. James Gunn, writer, director, producer James Gunn, in the magazine we call Entertainment Weekly. They call it Entertainment Weekly. And in it, he talked about a Wonder Woman movie being in the works, quote unquote, in the works. The Batman Part 2 is very much still happening. He said it's still a big part of their universe, regardless of what people are saying. And he hasn't seen the script. And when asked about a Justice League movie, he said it is absolutely on the horizon. It's just not 100% in motion just yet. And when he talked about a sequel to Superman, he said there will be a sequel of sorts, to paraphrase him, that will be coming. That might not be necessarily a technical sequel. And I think that's him basically implying World's Finest. So you look at these comments, like, what are your thoughts on let's take one by one. What are your thoughts on the Wonder Woman stuff being officially finally in the works? He said it is being written right now and that it is a separate thing from the series that's coming out on HBO Max. He said, we're working on Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's being written right now. So what are your thoughts on this, Winston? Because it's quite, it's been a bit since Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins were together to do a Wonder Woman film. We know that they're out. So what do you anticipate here? And what do you think of these comments?
I mean, look, we've talked about this, that this is definitely something where we're trying to get a kind of a whole, like a brand new universe. So it wouldn't necessarily involve Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins. Like there is a level of needing to move on from all of this. Yeah. The only things that have stayed through one way or the other have been Peacemaker.
Yes.
Which then includes Waller.
Right.
As that whole kind of thing. And then other than that, you're still using Momoa the actor, it was alluded to at the end of The Flash that I guess technically that's the same, that Aquaman is the same in every universe.
Yeah.
So maybe he's pulling double duty, but that's it. Everything else has been wiped. And so I will also say she is part of the DC Holy Trinity, man. You can't do this whole situation where you don't include Batman and Wonder Woman. I understand putting Batman on the back burner because Batman always ends up being like an immediate centerpiece, and I get it. He's the most profitable out of DC by a mile. Like Superman, while maybe you could argue back and forth about maybe being more famous or whatever, it's not close when you actually look at the numbers of what money-wise Batman brings in.
Right.
And so to that point, it would make sense to keep an eye on making him come up, but you got to put in Wonder Woman. She is not only a paramount hero in general, she is such a huge role model and an icon for women and young girls. Really what Wonder Woman stands for in that regard. There are obviously plenty of other female superheroes, but she is special. And so that's kind of the same argument that is had with the whole T'Challa situation. There are plenty of Black superheroes, but T'Challa specifically, not just the title of Black Panther, but T'Challa is special. He's really the first out there. And so because of that, there is something very important to him being around. So I am happy to hear that is in the works. I stand by what I said about all of this. I don't need you to rush it. I need you to take your time, do it one at a time, announce maybe 2 or 3 projects at a time, no more than that. But I'm glad that is on the early horizon. Both Batman and Wonder Woman need to be addressed sooner than later.
Yeah. I mean, that's the situation that when you look at Wonder Woman, I mean, as you said, she is one of the pillars of the DC superhero community. And so I get starting with Superman. That makes all the sense in the world. But your Batman is clearly up in the air because you don't know what you're going to do with Pattinson or Brave and Bold. And so you're like, where am I going with this kind of stuff? And now you've got a Wonder Woman situation. You've got to establish that. So I'm glad that it's being written. I'm glad that they're focusing on it and bringing her in. The question becomes who's going to play Wonder Woman? and what director are they going to find to do Wonder Woman as well? So that's the next step. And of course, Winston, everything hinges on how Superman does here in just a few weeks. We're not that far away. If the demand is any indication that this is going to be a box office monster, I mean, the sites crashed selling Superman tickets a couple weeks ago, and then today the Fandango thing and the Amazon thing absolutely crashed as well. People buying early tickets for the July 8th screening. Yeah.
I'm glad I got mine, because obviously with Christian not being here, it's up in the air whether or not I get into any press screenings at this point.
Oh yeah.
So right. I didn't even know it was happening. Shout out to Matt Thomas if he's watching today, that he was just like, he messaged me at 3 a.m. I was out cold, but I woke up at 7 and I saw it and I was like, let me just see if something's here. And at first I was pissed. I thought it was only Cinemarks because it said Fandango, and I was like, I don't want to drive all the way out there. That's so far. And then I went far enough and I found one for AMC, and I found IMAX, the absolute back row in the corner.
Oh, so nice.
It was either that or there were little middlings in the middle surrounded by people. I was like, get me away from everybody. And then the 4 front rows. And I learned my lesson from doing Sinners in IMAX in the front 4. Absolute worst outcome possible. So I'm happy that I was able to sort mine out, man, because like I said, who knows? Who knows if I'll be able to get into a press screening or not.
Yeah, fair point. And I saw that too, and I was gonna get tickets, but they were like $29 each, because I like to buy an extra seat. For the big movies, I use my Regal and get a free ticket, and then I buy an extra seat next to me so that no one sits next to me, which I like. I like to be free. So, and I always carry the tickets with me, so I tell the people, no, you can't sit next to me because I bought the seat next to me. So I like that, but with this one, it was like almost $30 a ticket with the service fee. So I was like $60 to see that, when I'm probably going to see it at a press screening. I can't go that far. But the fact that there was that much demand for it, that it was apparently selling out this morning in a number of cities, I think that speaks volumes of how much interest people have. And it's a good article. I highly recommend y'all read it. There's a lot in there about Superman and what they're going to do with it, and how they're going to open the door to the possibility of him revealing who he is in the movie, possibly. So, and their relationship is already in motion. So is he going to reveal that he's Clark Kent? There's a new international spot that has some good footage there as well, showing the Clark Kent side of things. And the Wonder Woman stuff, I think, is, as you mentioned, Winston, I think is great as well, that they're finally working on it. And so we'll see how that develops. The other element of this is the Batman. That's also an interesting situation with the Batman Part 2, saying basically that he's waiting for the script to come in. He's excited about it coming in, and he's hoping that this is going to get in motion very soon. That's what I seem to be reading by what he's saying here. So how much of this do you think is is just like window dressing, and how much of it is actually true? Because his exact quote, what Matt's doing is still really important, despite all stories to the contrary. We're supposed to see that script shortly, and I can't wait. So, Winston, if I was going to be a super cynic, the fact that he says what Matt's doing is still really important, as if like it's also important, it just seems like an interesting choice of words there and how he's explaining this. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I can hear that. Like that is choice language.
Yes.
So it can definitely sound like he's doing his little thing, and when that's over, we gonna move on. But but we're really focused on the DCU, and I think what that means is two things. I think one, that means that he really is leaving it alone. I think to that point, other than the stuff that he has to do as head of DC Studios or co-head of DC Studios,
right?
Certain sign-offs, but he really is out of it. That is not his domain, and I actually appreciate the fact of him letting that be its own thing,
right?
But I think the other thing that he's doing, which is smart. Yes, people are clamoring for the Batman 2. It's not going to happen for at least 2 years. So for anybody to be focused on that and not what is upon us in a month, I do not blame him for being like, yeah, that's important too. Fuck that shit. We're here to talk Superman. Like as obviously journalists are going to want to do that. Scoopers, influencers, they're all going to want to be the one that said, I got that little nugget out of James Gunn. Good on him for being like, shut up. this is why we're here. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that's the problem. I mean, not even to get into to no political shit. I feel like half the time when we're talking about political shit, someone wants to bring up a what about, and it's like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. Let's focus on this. That's on a serious level. I can only imagine what it's like when you're trying to get a business go off the ground with DC Studios. They're like, so man, when is Wonder Woman coming? Wonder Woman will be here. Can we talk about Clark? God damn it.
Yeah, and to be fair, majority of the Garland's pretty long article is about Superman. So I mean, you're absolutely right. He's trying to keep the focus on Superman. There are a bunch of new photos in here. There's a bunch of new kind of motion photos as well. That's really cool to see as well. So I do like the way this is presented, but you're right. Now, when he talks about, and he also talks about the Justice League, let's bring that up. He's talking about the Justice League as well. And he was asked about it, and he said, Gunn says the idea of a larger superhero team up is on his mind. Of course, he tells EW, but there is no Justice League in this world, not yet. And when he's asked if his Justice League plans to tie into his larger vision for Gods and Monsters phase, he says playfully, sure. Now, Winston, we know in the movie, Maxwell Lord is in charge of Lord Tech, and he has a team comprised of Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, and Mr. Terrific. And he's calling them the Justice Gang and says they're good but not saintly. And even when Cornsweat is asked about Justice League, he said, I don't take it upon myself to think ahead in that kind of way just because one would hate to get one's hopes up about anything in particular. So if Justice League is in the back of his mind, that sounds great to me. I'll put it in the back of my mind and we'll see what happens. So that's an interesting situation that he is still very much considering a Justice League at some point down the road. But this is a Justice Gang is what it's being described in the article. What are your thoughts on that?
That's Justice Gang. I mean, I think that's again, and that's just where he's a good writer. There's a specific choice of words for that. He specifically called them the Justice Gang when he said they're not saintly, implying hearing the word gang.
Yeah.
While it could also be like, hey, it's just me and the gang, that can kind of come off like that. It also has the connotation of somebody maybe doing something a little effed up or a little bit more violent or a little bit like illegal. So when you put that in there, that is a particular choice of words as a writer, and good on him for doing that, to imply, as a lot have talked about, Superman is supposed to be bringing hope back to the world. So if you show up and Guy Gardner's being a dick and maybe he's exerting a little more force, and maybe Mr. Terrific does something, and then, for those that are familiar with Mr. Terrific's origin story, his whole origin story, for those that don't know, Olympic level athlete, has a situation where a friend of his who was the original Mr. Terrific gets killed. Yeah. He, being a black man, sees a lot of young kids and gang activity in his neighborhood, gets put on by the Spectre to tell him, hey, it's actually going to be your job to do it. He's like, I don't necessarily want to do all that, but he eventually takes up the mantle and he starts teaching young black men that there's a better way. You don't need to be a part of that whole situation, et cetera, et cetera. And so even that, I think, if he's going to go back to that specific origin story, actually also ties in pretty well. You've clearly lost your way, bro. You are in a gang now. You were in the Justice Gang, and then have him go, I am in a gang. Yeah. Shit. Yeah. That would actually be a pretty interesting, if that is what he is going to do. Yeah. I have never felt more secure that James Gunn knows what he's doing, because that is knowing your lore well enough to go, how do I kind of tie all this together and make this work?
Yeah, exactly. I need to take our graphics down for a second because we have someone in our chat who said this EW interview was months ago. So let's show him how months ago it was. I think this is it. Yeah, there we go. See that? That says June 10th, 2025. That was today. All right. So it was not months ago. Right. I just wanted to clarify that before.
Oh, no. I was opening to Google. It says 7 hours ago. Oh, shit. You already heard that Rocha not here for it today. Why would you challenge him? I know you were trying to be nice, but do your research. Do your Googles before you just start saying shit.
I think Smear was the guy that showed up at your job. Hello. This interview was
Hello.
Hello.
right, with that, I'm gonna take that shot I went to go get. Cheers, brother.
Yes.
Still love you, Samir. Just obviously,
Yeah.
If we go, like you said, it's loosey goosey today. So if we got to snap, we got to snap.
Oh, now he's trying to backtrack, saying it was taken months ago. I didn't say dropped. Please, irrelevant, man, irrelevant. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot in here that I think is interesting.
Well,
And
real quick
yeah.
before you move on.
Go ahead.
I mean,
bro.
words matter. We just talked about how using the word justice gang had a very specific thing. So again, I'm just teasing you, Samir. You're one of the cool homies. You're around all the time. But you know, hey, we just pop. Just
man, you got to come correct or don't come at all. Anyway, but no, I like the idea. I like the description of it being a justice gang, as you were referencing, which it didn't even catch my eye as the gang reference. Like, what would that could be? So clearly, this is a crew working under a tech billionaire. We've seen what tech bros have done to the world recently, so there could be a lot of topical stuff in that way. But we also know that Mr. Terrific is a good guy. We know that Hawk Girl usually is a good guy. Guy Gardner, maybe not so much good guy, but like we know those other two. So is this kind of a convenient thing where they are all in certain situations, so they have decided to join this gang to be under Maxwell Lord's control? Or is it a situation where Maxwell Lord came in and essentially co-opted them because it has shades of Justice League International, which is one of my favorite runs ever in the comics. Right. So it's an interesting situation how it's Justice Gang, not Justice League. Well, that's something completely separate. So
not even the Justice Society. That was the other thing that actually tipped my hat, is that that you kind of hold off on Justice League typically until it's Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and then the rest kind of fluctuates sometimes, where it's like Martian Manhunter, The Flash, Green Lantern, and some iterations it's The Flash, Green Lantern, Cyborg, which is kind of a big one now, and then like Aquaman. Like it just depends. Occasionally Shazam gets involved. Like it just depends on where DC is starting at that particular point.
I mean, I remember Red Rocket, Ice and Fire. Like those are the Justice League International members that I always loved. Or is it Rocket Red? I always forget what it is. Yeah, or Captain Atom as well. Captain Atom was part of the Justice League International stuff, which I thought was a lot of fun. So yeah, so I listen, I a lot of people think I've got a hate boner for James Gunn. I do not have a hate boner for James Gunn. I will express my points of views of things that I might have an issue with, but then I'll also give him praise when I think he deserves praise. And this article, I think, is a really good article, and it breaks a lot of things down, talks about Superman. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think it's a very positive point of view that he has on this thing, and not just selling it, but also talking about the approach. And I like the approach as the way it's described in the article. So I came away from the article much more confident in the film we're going to get, which I think that's a good, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. And again, I stand by the fact that James Gunn has made it pretty clear that Superman is incredibly important to him, and is a very important like IP that he has dreamed of writing about. I get it, because he was handed like the two things that come into mind. Hold on 30 seconds.
Okay.
Give me a second. I gotta close my window. I'm being loud.
From one of your neighbors? Oh no.
No, from a lady.
Oh,
she's like, for the sake of the neighborhood, I don't think you should have the window open while you're streaming. And I was like, yeah, probably. What were we talking about? I just lost my full train of thought.
Yeah, James Gunn and his approach to Superman.
But knowing that he's made it very clear that this is something that's near and dear to his heart, I get that. Like, if the three things he was handed, call it two, were the Guardians of the Galaxy, which he enjoyed doing and did a great job with.
Yeah, he did.
But then also to follow that up with the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Another band of misfit kind of assholes, in this case actually villains, that are serving as anti-heroes, which then to kind of further barrel into Peacemaker, which is a further barrel into what he's done to start off in the Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder, the three of those feel pretty similar.
Yeah.
Are you sure that you can handle Superman? Well, just because he did those three things doesn't mean you can't. Like someone brought up a good point with the Russos.
Yeah.
Before the Russos did Winter Soldier and then took on Captain America, they were doing Community. Like they were directing Community. And look what they did. They did those two Captain America movies and then crushed it with Infinity War and Endgame. So I truly have, until I see Superman be bad, which I don't think it will be, I have full faith in Gunn and like let him cook. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And just to finish off the Justice Gang stuff, Nathan Fillion had a quote in here talking about his Green Lantern and Guy Gardner. He said, what is very true about Guy Gardner and what James understands very well is you don't have to be good and pure of heart to be a Green Lantern. You just have to be fearless. You have to have that
willpower.
Yeah. And Guy Gardner thinks he can take on Superman. That's how fearless he is. No, you can't take on Superman, dude. But that's how fearless he is, right? And Mr. Terrific is described as one of the most, quote, philosophically compelling heroes in DC. That's what how Gathegi describes him. And he says he's an atheist who believes in justice. He loses his wife and he found meaning in knowledge. He saw that while the universe might be cruel, intelligence, science, and innovation could make it better. He chose to become hope rather than succumbing to this despair of losing his wife. And for Hawkgirl, Isabella Merced, who, by the way, is just blowing up with all kinds of stuff going on with her right now. I mean, all kinds of franchises. You see her there. She looks so good in the role. She says that you don't really get to know her that well, and I think that's good. James isn't showing all of his cards. He's saving a lot of that. And with talking about Merced says of inserting Hawkgirl into the Peacemaker environment, it's so effed up, but in a fun way. So she's going to be part of that as well. So I like that he knows what he's doing with all these characters and where he's taking them. I think he's talking about that he's an atheist, that the character's an atheist. That's fascinating. How science is that going to come up? Why would you stress that unless that might be an element of the film? So that's going to be interesting to see if that's something that we see in the film with him, you know?
Yeah, it will genuinely be interesting to see how that all plays out one way or the other. Yeah. But again, I am one of those people that like I have faith. So I just want to see. I want to see him cook. Let's watch him cook and see what happens. You know?
Yeah, 100%. Well, we're at the half hour mark of the show here. Thank you all so much for joining us. We have 250 people joining us right now. Thanks so much. Again, this was just an impromptu live show. I wasn't sure I was going to go live today with Winston, but we are here to have some fun and talk about stuff with you all. Hope you enjoyed the James Gunn segment. What are your thoughts on it? Let us know in the chat, or let us know if you're watching later in the comments section. What did you take away from this article that came out today, not 2 months ago, today? Let us know what you thought about his comments about Superman, about the Justice League, about Wonder Woman, about the Batman Part 2, and the possibility that his next film is going to be a sequel of sorts to Superman, but not necessarily a direct sequel. So is that him essentially confirming that World's Finest is the plan? And are you worried? Because this is exactly what happened the last time with Zack Snyder. We did a Man of Steel and then right into Superman v Batman. So is this the right move? And do you think it's Pattinson, or do you think it's someone else? Let us know down there in the comment section as well. All right, Winston. Hey, well, we could not do the show without talking about the madness that's going on in LA. We're not going to dive too deep into the darker aspects of it all, but man, this is a crazy time right now. This is Spill the Teaquila, where we spill the tea. So, I mean, how you're still in LA? I've been there I've lived there in 5 years. So for me, I'm watching from afar, but it does feel like it's around the corner, being only 2 hours away. But what's it like up there? What's the feeling? What's the vibe? What's the energy about all the stuff that's going on there? Because it seems like it's only in a small, consolidated area, but it seems that people are using that area to paint the entire city in some kind of turmoil. What's the truth, brother?
That's the part that pisses me off. What? Just to give you an example of what's going on.
Yeah. Tell us.
Because the right is loving to lie and say the city of LA is full of all these degenerates and it's on fire and it's all that. That is incredibly disrespectful to the moments when we actually did have the riots because of Rodney King and
Right.
everything, and the Watts riots and things like that. Like that is incredibly disrespectful to when that shit actually went down.
Yeah.
You throw in the fact that yesterday, as you can see, I put the same shirt on because I only wore it for a little bit. I'm in my Cam Brink Sparks shirt. I went downtown to Staples Center. I refuse to call it by its new name because it's stupid. And
I don't even know what its new name is.
Crypto.com Arena.
Lord.
I refuse.
All right, that's fair,
I went downtown to Staples Center, went to a Sparks game. You know what was going on downtown in the theater directly across the street from the Staples Center? The BET Awards.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah.
There are plenty of things happening business as usual around here. And the protests are very specific to a very set few parts of downtown Los Angeles. It is not the city as a whole. What's funny is the people that want to speak on Los Angeles that have clearly never been here, have never spent an exorbitant amount of time, be like the whole city burning. They're all crazy. No, it's not. LA County is bigger than apparently. I didn't know this. Someone pointed out it's bigger than Connecticut. LA County. So like that's like one of the funniest things in the world for people to say that, but it's also infuriating because it's painting this light, as Trump is known to do, of trying to spin this shit so you can get away with more fascism and bullshit and sending more Marines in and things like that. And it's funny. I get such mixed feelings about Newsom because there's this own level of problems with Newsom that a lot of people that live here have, like people on the left. I'm not talking about the right wing people. Of course they hate him. People on the left, because he keeps trying to kowtow and cozy up to a bunch of right wingers so he can kind of position himself to run for president. So there's a lot of things. Someone was pointing out he's very much like if we were watching Scandal. He's like a mix of like Fitz and hold on, let me look at the quote. Somebody said that had me dying. It was given the body of Fitz, the brain of Cyrus, but he pulling up on Trump like he's Jake. As in, like the assassin that works for like the secret agent stuff, and I'm like, but I say all that to say that, like, yes, were there some Waymo cars that were set on fire? Sure, and I'm always going to feel some type of way about property damage one way or the other. But I stand by a lot of what Martin Luther King said about, like, you know, a riot is the language of the frustrated and misunderstood. You know what I mean? So there's a level to that too, but also that wasn't like people.
Right.
It wasn't individuals driving Lyft or Uber and you burn their cars. It was actually, if anything, it founded like a secondary protest of, and fuck these AI overlords too, because Waymo isn't even an American company on top of that. So I'm surprised that the right wing would be like, you know what? Well, I mean, they did say America first. I like that they did America first and got rid of that Waymo. That Waymo ain't from here. Like I'm surprised they didn't like go up on that, but that's because it doesn't fit the narrative they want. They want the narrative that California is a lawless Wild West land of a bunch of crazy liberals that just want to burn the Constitution, which is the exact opposite. To try and take the National Guard away from, without the governor's approval of doing that, that is unconstitutional. That is not what they are there for. You sent these Marines in to come and try and do, like, granted, it is constitutional for the Marines to protect federal property. So if there was a threat that a building was going to potentially be, then technically that's correct. But Newsom pointed out a bunch of stuff. You did this without really checking on what's going on the ground, without setting up anything for them. So there was a bunch of photos that came out of these Marines just sleeping on the floor of some random building. They don't have an actual barracks. They don't have a base. They don't have hotel setup. They have nothing. They're just thrown on the floor doing some stuff. So it's just, again, this nonsense of trying to paint us as crazies. And that we're out here doing this to do whatever. What we're doing is, if we get to a place where we allow this asshole to continue to do whatever he wants in the name of America, when it's not for anything but himself, we will end up, truthfully, in a Nazi Germany type situation. And that is actually going to be scary, because this is the same, like, people wanted to, I saw a great TikTok that pointed out how close this is to the Gestapo, as far as going in, you know, and doing whatever they want without warrants, just randomly arresting and deporting people that depose one way or the other, not reporting to anybody, not giving up any identification. The only difference between the Gestapo and ICE, ICE is wearing masks because they're afraid of retribution not necessarily physical violence, but certainly
Right.
being slammed for being inhuman assholes.
Yeah.
Versus the Gestapo didn't have social media. There were no camera phones. So it didn't
Right.
matter. You're just some faceless, other random German who just walked in, stomped up a bunch of stuff, and then bounced. So it's like literally a standpoint of, they are doing that for that. But that to me is why they're cowards. And I think that that's pathetic. If you're standing on business that this is a legal thing to do, there as a law enforcement officer, there is no reason to hide your face. I love superheroes, but that is the argument that gets happen all the time in comics. If what you're doing is lawful, you don't need to wear a mask. You can go out there and do what you need to do and make it very clear who you are. And so then when you get held, when you do something wrong, you can be held accountable. They are doing this in such an illegal, brutal way. They are hiding their face because they don't want to be associated with the history that they are creating. They do not want to be associated with the nightmare that they are unleashing upon people. And I am so proud of the way that the city has found a way to handle a bunch of different things, including there was one setup where a bunch of ICE people were ready to raid as soon as a graduation let out. And the principal here found that out and announced it. They locked the doors, put the school into lockdown, and they were helping people go out in small spurts. And like letting them out through back entrances and stuff like that to try and protect as many people as they can. Because again, it would be so different if it was just like, number of illegals. They claimed it was supposed to be all criminals, like violent criminals, that they were going to do all of this stuff one way or the other. If you were doing that, you're not. You're arresting people that just happen to look brown, that you're arresting people that are actual citizens or that have legal justification to be in the country. You're deporting them left and right. You're sending them to detention centers where they're never being heard from again. You're taking people from their children. So you're not on the right side, even if you believe that there is a problem of enough people being in this country that shouldn't necessarily be here because they didn't do it the right way. There should be nobody that has any sense of humanity in their body to think that this is okay. Because all it takes is to start with this. You get people used to it with something like this. And then you start taking out people you don't like. And at the minute you decide that the thing that happened, let's say the tariffs fully kick in and the economy tanks, and now all these MAGA folk are like, I genuinely can't afford groceries. I want to protest. Nope, Gestapo taking your ass away because you allowed this to happen. As that this is the warm-up act. And so,
this feels like, a distraction. And, we saw what was happening last week. His economy plans are just absolutely tanking. No matter what PR they do, people are feeling it in their pocketbook. The prices are not going down. They're going up or staying where they are at the high price level. Elon Musk brought up him being in the Epstein videos or Epstein files and tacitly or indirectly accusing him of being a pedophiliac. And they even, but then Musk removed some of his posts recently to try to get back in the good graces. We talked about it, 2 or 3 days ago. And sure enough, that he removed his post because he wants to make up with Trump. But you see these little things happening throughout. At Pete Hegseth today saying that Trump has the authority, the president has the authority to send federal troops into any situation that he wants to send them into, which of course is not actually the way it's supposed to go. He's supposed to get approval from Congress and all of that, and even talk to the governor of the state. And then they unearthed 2020 footage where Trump is saying, I would never say, you have to talk with the governor before you send National Guard. You can't just send National Guard troops in there. And they looked at the historical aspect that this is, or it's a historical perspective. This is the first time since 1965 that federal troops have been sent in without a governor's approval or warning. And when it was done back in 1965, it was because of civil rights. And they were trying to protect Black people and people who were protesting against the racism that was going on in the South. So this is the thing where you look at it, and this is him flexing his power. And even today, he said that if anybody shows up to protest that ridiculous military parade they're doing next week, which is apparently costing $174 million allegedly, the administration of fraud, waste, and abuse, that he will bring the full force of the government down on them, which is like, what are you talking about? The First Amendment is your right to protest peaceably. You can absolutely do that peacefully. And that's the thing. There's only a few bad apples that have been part of this protest downtown in LA. And there have been cars set on fire. Some people accusing the people who are part of the ICE situation for setting those cars on fire. I don't have any evidence of that, but there have been accusations of that, and there's only been a few minor incidences. Everything else has been pretty peaceful in terms of the protests. People are going like to ice cream shops right around the protest. It's not a big deal, but he has to showcase this sense of strength because this is a dry run, as you said, which I think is really brilliant. This is a dry run to get people used to it so that he can do it more frequently in other cities and stop any kind of dissension towards his plans or his rhetoric or his policies. And here's an extra layer. Oh, so go ahead. Go address that.
No, I was just going to say, the reason why he is so heavy-handed. He has been poking the bear to find ways to make this happen for a minute. The whole, I might, pardon Chauvin. I'll get the black people out there, but like, you know why he's so gung-ho about doing this, right? Other than the direct implications, huh?
To get the police on his side. That's what he wants to do.
That's part of it. And it's funny that when the first day went down, that the LAPD, even they put out a statement being like, none of what he's saying is true. It's actually been very peaceful down here, barring one or two bad apples that like people are that got like handled, arrested, whatever.
Yeah.
He's doing this because the biggest stain on his presidency, and there were a lot in the first term, was how things were handled with COVID and subsequently how things were handled with the George Floyd protests. Right. There is something in his mind where he said it from jump. His vindication was coming.
Yeah.
He was going after the people that wronged him. So there's something to be said about if he can get to a place of this martial law and again, get us used to it.
Yeah.
He wants to make sure that a message is sent out. You will never do this again.
Yeah. And to add on to it, there was a video today from Tulsi Gabbard who essentially implies that people who are against Russia and what Russia is doing are trying to encourage a nuclear war because they're liberal elites who have shelters and they think they're going to survive the nuclear war, where all these regular people, never mind that she's a multimillionaire, are going to die in the nuclear war, and the people will come up, the liberal elites, from their shelters and take over the world. This is full on nuts. Like, this is nuts madness, just saying this kind of stuff. And so I just think and this is still, Winston, what are we, 6 months into this? Like, this is only 6 months into the first year, or 5.5 months into the first year of his presidency. This is madness. Yes, exactly. The stuff. I mean, this is his first presidency turned up to like 11. It is every day. It's madness of what's going on. But I think the big thing, though, to me, look, all of that is terrible. The big thing is, who is the opposition leader that is standing up to this stuff? We don't see the other side, right? Newsom is trolling him and all of that. But before that, as you said, Newsom had been catering to the right wing, trying to maybe angle for a run for presidency. And John Fetterman has gone full. He might as well just jump parties now because he's blaming Democrats for what he calls the riots going on.
I really hate that.
But who is out there? No one is out there, and that's what I think is adding to the despondency: is that no big political leader is out there rallying the troops and fighting and showing up at these places to talk down Trump and all of this stuff. We haven't seen any of that. Even AOC and Bernie have been quiet publicly about all of this stuff, except for a few snarky comments. So it's a bit frustrating to see this happening, and no one is stepping up to try to stop this in a loud manner.
I mean, that's the thing, man. We are just in a space where I would argue, and I kind of hate it. I hate that what the Democrats have kind of become have been that thing that a lot of black folk got really mad about when Trump first got elected. I'm a little bit more forgiving, and or maybe we were a little too harsh on the pink pussy hats during the women's march and all that. But the idea of like, this feels very performative. And that's what the Democrats feel. They feel very performative.
Yes.
Like I said, I've had a number of conversations, and there is still a level of performative behavior that I saw going on with that. But I've talked to folks, and they were like, look, that was a level of trying to build some sort of community and unity in that moment, and et cetera, et cetera. So there is a level of like, okay, fine, I hear that. I'll back off a little bit. But at the same time, the message still needs to get across that the fact that there wasn't enough conversations had beforehand to get your family, to get the people of your demographic kind of in line to try and figure this out and to really worry about it. That was where that level of like, instead of like voting stuff right, with pink pussy hats. And so there is a level of both getting it and also being like, whatever. That's what a lot of the current elected officials on the Democratic side feel like. They feel very performative. It doesn't help that you have like I remember when Elon and Trump were arguing just last week. Jesus, it was only a week ago.
Only a week ago.
I remember Chuck Schumer trying to be like, he tried to be like, ooh, the girls are fighting. AOC can say that. AOC talks the talk and walks the walk. He tried to be like, ooh, the girls are fighting. Ooh, you should fight. I said, bitch, if you don't get your ass off Twitter and fucking do something, like you're one of the few people with actual elected power to challenge this asshole. You think you have the right to make jokes? You don't get to make jokes. Period. Because think about the vote that happened like a month or two ago that we're like, we have to put a stop to this budget thing, whatever. And then he caved and got some other Democrats to cave with him. F you, Chuck Schumer. Get out of here.
Yeah. It's madness. You're right. You're 100% right. And that's what you come down to is like, well, who Schumer is kind of feckless at times and gave in to Trump on the budget proposal thing. And you're like, well, who is standing up? There's no real strong person. Even Newsom is not. He's just staying in California, telling Tom Homan to arrest him and threatening and all of that.
He shouldn't leave California. I'll tell you this much. That was one of the things that I got pissed off. Like, there's a time and a place for a leader of a particular place to go visit other areas. If there was going to go be a sit down for Trump to try and be like, get your shit together. Fine. But like, it drove me crazy that during the mayoral race, they decided to ask all these questions. Where's the first place you'll go when you're New York mayor? And everybody wants to be, I'm gonna go to Israel. Why? You're the mayor of New York. Focus on New York. And the fact that Sohn said that, and he goes, I'm gonna be in New York and worry about New York because I would be the mayor of New York. I wouldn't be the governor of New York. I would be the mayor of New York City. So my job is here. So are there times maybe I need to travel? Sure. But for the most part, my ass needs to be right here. And I want to give him shit for that. Why? That's like John Rocha. If we actually elevate you, if we take you, sir, and we elevate you to be the head of Warner Brothers, we're kicking Zaslav out. What's the first thing you're going to do? You'll be like, well, the first thing I'm going to go do is I'm going to go to Bollywood and I'm going to actually talk to the studio execs there because I really want to make sure we have a good. How about you focus on the studio you have at home? What are you doing?
I'm going to Disney. I'm going to Disneyland.
I'm going to go to Disneyland. I'm going to go to Disneyland. That's what I'm going to do. You're going to go to Disneyland. You're not going to, because where do they put the Looney Tunes? You're not going to go to Six Flags? Where you send your Looney Tunes and your DC stuff? You're going to Disneyland? You asshole. Oh my God.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I have a lot of friends, including you, who are still in LA, and I checked in with them and they're all just kind of like, this is all being so overblown. And they're like, this is ridiculous. The amount of drama this is causing, but they needed a talking point. They were losing on all their talking points.
Yes.
And what has Trump always done when he's losing? He turns right to immigration. That is the caravans, all of that stuff, all the nonsense of the brown people are here to scare you. It's all of that nonsense. And you see it. And the fact that Obama had more people deported from America by this stage of his presidency than Trump, without needing to have what is allegedly former January 6ers in those masks, hiding their faces, going out and raiding schools, like elementary schools, raiding graduations, as you mentioned, jumping into a Home Depot parking lot and trying to grab whoever runs. I mean, like the madness of this all is it's so childish and so like for YouTube engagement and clicks and likes that it's borderline offensive, because as the son of immigrants, a majority of people come to this country to find a better life and love being here and respect and love this country. Yes. Are there some bad apples? Sure. Guess what? There's a lot of bad apple American citizens too. So it's just like, it's a balance here. And I thought the meme where they were like, well, it's so funny that you're having to go to their jobs to arrest them.
That would, bro.
Yeah,
That you
when
were
you claim
claiming
they're
that they
not
were
working.
just gaming the system. They weren't
Yeah.
paying taxes. They were
Yeah.
just here living off of a free system. And instead, they're working very hard. They're paying taxes and getting none of the benefits. And so all of a sudden now, so what is it, bro? On top of the fact that the numbers have come out that what? It's gonna cost over the course of all this. I think they said
174 million to send in the Marines. 700.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking
No.
about the loss in tax revenue.
Oh,
it's like in the
billions. Yes.
Like, and the funny thing is, part of what he already knew about that, and that's what he's doing, and he's tried to gain, and that's why he calls out Walmart and be like, don't you put no damn tariff prices. He gonna get his tax money back while he's cutting their taxes, the rich people, and he's getting rid of the taxes being paid by the people that are being deported. He gonna make your ass pay for that shit with tariffs, and then lie to you and say it was from the other country. It's not from the other country. It's going to your ass.
It's madness to see it all happening and the way it's all going down, and how much people are just buying into this stuff, And it's a little depressing because the poll that came out yesterday, or this morning rather, saying that just a little bit under half of the country has an issue with how Trump is handling this. Why is it not 80 to 90% of people who are having an issue with how he is handling this? Because it is absolutely it's going to wreck and he's only going into blue cities, which makes it very much politically convenient. You don't see him going into deep South, going after these people, or in the red states. Like, it's frustrating.
It's happening, but not to that level. And the other part about it is, like you said, you play the greatest hits and you frame it. The reason why the propaganda about LA being on fire keeps going is because, look, you see this? Lawless enemy. So when he kept saying the enemy within, he said it over and over and over again, which is like terrifying to even say that in the first place. Yeah. Super quick to go, see? Yeah. And then the second thing is this idea of, if everything looks all peachy keen, and in your Texases, your Mississippis, your whatever, and you see all this other, then it's the reason they're like, quote unquote, oh yeah, no, I'm on board. I what he's doing is right, is because you're seeing the numbers and be like, great, they're gone. Yeah. Just the problem is I cannot wait for them to open their eyes and see what's left in this nonsense. They refuse to act while this is happening, and when they look up and all of this completely falls apart. It's just crazy, man.
So we'll see what happens. Obviously we don't want to dive too deep into it, because it'll just start kind of dragging us down. But it's Spill the Tequila. We're not going to be afraid of any topics here on the show. We're going to talk about it, and certainly that one is one that's happening now to a lot of our friends there in Los Angeles, including Winston A. Marshall for sure. Well, I want to pivot to one story here and get your thoughts on this one. I don't know how much you know about the Pixar stuff. I don't know how much you review it or know about it, but like, this got announced today that Peter Sohn is going to take over.
Hell yeah.
As the director for Incredibles 3. Peter directed Elemental, which shocked a lot of people with the box office that it ended up legging out. And The Good Dinosaur, which is probably arguably one of the worst Pixar movies overall. And I think Peter is also the voice of the kid in Up, but I might be wrong with it, but I think he is. So
I'm pretty sure that's correct. I mean, not to even be look at his face and then look at the face of the little boy and Up. They kind of modeled it after him.
So, but this is an interesting situation because Sohn has worked on every animated Brad Bird film, even though Brad Bird is not coming back, including this year's Ray Gunn. And Bird has apparently been a mentor to Sohn. But this is a fascinating situation because his two films underperformed, both The Good Dinosaur and Elemental. So should we be concerned a little bit that he's taken over Incredibles to do a third installment, or does the fact that he has essentially been tapped by Brad Bird, having worked under Brad Bird, is he the right choice to take over and do a good installment? What do you think?
The thing that's rough about that, I never watched The Good Dinosaur. People said it was bad enough and it happened far enough back. I was like fine to miss on that.
Yeah.
But I saw Elemental. I certainly had a few pretty like decent critiques of
Right.
issues
Yeah.
that I had with it, but overall was a good film.
Mhm.
So I am not concerned in regards of that there was enough good stuff done in Elemental.
Yes.
And it part of the reason why it was in a little bit of a bomb, if I remember, when did it drop again? 2023?
Yeah, 2023, yeah.
You were kind of dealing with the situation of we weren't fully adjusted post like pandemic, like stuff like that. I want to say the only two major films that had really done well were Top Gun Maverick and Spider-Man at that point. I don't even think that Avatar had dropped quite yet. Avatar dropped at the end of 23, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So you put all that together. There's a level of you're trying to make an adjustment of what was going on. You were in the middle of Iger stepping back in and kicking out what's his name, because Chapek,
yeah,
because that wasn't going well.
Right.
You were in the middle of a strike, so there was also people that sort of while that was happening, you couldn't do proper press for things.
Right.
You had people that were like, oh, well, I want to support the actors and the writers and stuff. Is it wrong for me to go to the movies? And at the end of the day, let me double check. I know it didn't do the numbers that they expect out of a Pixar film. But if I remember, the box office for Elemental was still pretty damn good.
Yeah. I think it was 500 million.
About 500. You know, and so that's considering all of those mitigating factors. That's still pretty good. It's not what you would expect out of a Pixar film, but that's still good. You know, I think he will do just fine. I think he will only get better as he goes, and I think The Incredibles is strong enough of an IP that you really have to shit the bed to mess that up.
Yeah, a lot of people were. Let's say this. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the second Incredibles. So a lot of people have been clamoring though for Brad Bird to come back and do the third one. So the fact that they're not and they want to go in a different direction, I think, is also something interesting to explore. And Peter Sohn, I think, will be fine to do it because what sells Elemental is the relationship, right? I mean, all the other stuff is great, but it's that relationship at the center that is so essential. And what is great about The Incredibles is the relationship of the family with each other. And so at least you've got a director who understands that. And I think that's the true power of the Incredibles franchise is the love and relationships that they have with each other. So hopefully that's something that he will use as the foundation and then build out from there for the story, or whoever's writing the story will understand that, you know? So
absolutely.
Track record not great, but could be fun. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, man, the timing of everything, you know, Elemental came out early summer of 2023. I mean, God knows that after everything that's gone down between October 7th, the election, all of that stuff, we almost needed this movie to come out in the middle of last year or early this year just to try and bridge some of these gaps of just insane divide. Like the divide was already sort of there, but it got exponentially worse about fall of 2023. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So if you can bring a similar message of trying to bring different people alike, that because the point of Elemental 2 is the idea that these various elements can actually be a danger to each other, which is part of why they are so separate from each other. But the idea is it's only a danger if you're just going to be reckless. Right. If you actually care about others, if you're aware of what others are doing. That was kind of the message. We can all be family, and that a boy made of water can fall in love with a girl made of fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason that we can't sort all that stuff out. So
yeah. Two last stories, and then we'll get to your questions. If you haven't sent in your Streamlabs and Super Chat, send them in now because we're turning the corner here to the tail end of the show. It was announced today. Two things. Get your thoughts on these, Winston. Rachel Brosnahan will lead Presumed Innocent, season 2 of Presumed Innocent. Not sure if you got a chance to watch that. We finished off the first season last week, watched it over 3 days rather. Incredible. If you haven't seen it, Winston, highly recommend it. Jake Gyllenhaal and everybody involved. Great cast, great story told. And not what you expect, which I thought was a nice twist by the end. So Brosnahan leading that. And then Last of Us creators confirmed that Kaitlyn Dever will lead season 3. So that's very much now officially confirmed. So your thoughts on either of these two?
Haven't seen Presume Innocence, but I will. I'm opening up my Apple TV app on my computer right now. I will add that to the queue. If you're telling me it's that good,
yeah.
I again, pretty much anything that Apple brings up, that gets any sort of headway really doesn't miss. There's plenty of stuff that maybe doesn't get on the radar because not a lot of people have it, but like the studio, honestly, as much as I love The Pit, as much as like I enjoyed The Last of Us season 2, but there were like issues. There's a lot of good TV that's been out. For me, nothing's touching the studio right now. And that's Apple. So and this is the same studio that brought us Ted Lasso. This is the same studio that brought us Shrinking, that brought us Mythic Quest, Severance. Severance was also this year. Like they have so many good shows.
Slow Horses, it's excellent. Yeah,
I haven't seen that one. I'll add that too.
Oh, yeah, man. Dope. I'm halfway through Dope Thief. I'm enjoying that with Brian.
I've heard that's good. I haven't had a chance to start that yet. But I will definitely do that. Okay, let's see. You said Presumed.
There's so many. For All Mankind. There's so much Apple TV stuff that's really good. So yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, don't forget Silo. Exactly. So I am excited to see that with Rachel. I mean, clearly, this is fun to do Lois Lane, but Rachel knows like the small screen is where she really gets a chance to do some of her best work. And then on the other side, the Kaitlyn Dever stuff, I'm going to be real curious to see what this season 3 turns out to be, Winston, because clearly with her leading it, it's going to show you Abbie and make her a much more well-rounded character. So there's already people who are lining up against Bella Ramsey as Ellie. I wonder how they're going to walk that line to flesh out Abbie, but not at the expense of Ellie, considering how people are feeling about the show. So it's going to be curious to see how they walk that high tightrope and get it right, if they do.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bad Monkey's another good one on there. Absolutely. Eugene. That was a damn good show with Vince Vaughn. All right. I think that's all the new stuff. So let's get into these questions here as we're wrapping up and see what people have to say. We only got 4 of them here and a couple of Streamlabs. I'd love to get a few more before we wrap up, but if you can't do it, you can't do it. I appreciate it. But thanks to the 275 of you who've been watching for a majority of the time. Please make sure you leave your thoughts on all the stuff we're talking about down there and the comment section, and subscribe here as well. I am Jax12 says prediction time. F1 kills it. Kaczynski and Cruz reunite. No, you hear me? Can you? Am I out?
Hello.
Uh-oh.
Can y'all still hear me and you can't hear Rocha? What's going on?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear us?
Is it me or is it him? Was
it
me or was it you?
Somebody let us know. Is it Winston or is it me? Let me know.
Okay, I can hear you now. You're moving.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
That was weird.
I can hear both of us. That's hilarious. I know. What the hell?
All right. I am Jack Sosa's prediction time. F1 kills it. Kaczynski and Cruz reunite for Days of Thunder 2. Oh, Cole Trickle finally makes it to the Indy 500. Book it.
Wow.
It's funny.
A lot of statements.
I know. I think F1 looks great. I think I'm seeing it next week, and I can't wait to experience that. Next week is that Elio, and I think 28 years later, back to back to back. So it's going to be a rough week.
You got a busy week.
Yeah, I hope I get good seats in those theaters. It gets real full. JC Mighty says, what you talk about, Winston? Oh, there you go.
What were we talking about? What was I talking about? I'm so curious what that was specifically referring to. I talked about a lot of shit today.
Yeah. Play It Gout says, on mental health days, go for a walk, preferably in a natural setting, exercise, try not to drink. Well, it's a great point. I certainly meditated and listened to music. That's what I usually do on mental health days. That's better for me. I get irritated when I go for a walk when I have my mental health day, so that doesn't quite work as hard for me. But I know it works for a lot of people, so I encourage that as well. I do not drink regularly anyway, so I do know. But what drink is, though, is social media. And I think that's a bad place to be on when you've got mental health going on.
Yeah, I agree with that.
My lady Outlaw walked up and took the phone out of my hands this morning because she's like, I think you're done.
That's good for her. That's how you shoot. That's exactly what a good partner will do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Two Fly Cam says Waymo will be the death of gig, econ, DoorDash, Uber. Yeah, Winston,
I agree. And that's the thing that people, I think, jokingly were just like, little robot cars. But that is 1,000% what that is. That is fully undercutting the gig economy. And it's one of those things that they were going to do it regardless because companies are greedy.
Yes, of course.
But this is part of why you saw people, especially here in California, fighting to make sure that Instacart and DoorDash and Uber and Lyft driver, that they were all employees and not just gig workers. So you can just be like, there's more gigs for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, then you have to like, it is 1,000% the truth. And that to me is the scary part. The way we are systematically trying to undercut those of us that are doing everything just to get by is crazy.
Yeah, it's unsettling. You're absolutely right on that. Spidey Sensei 72 says, very few dudes are rocking handlebar mustaches now. What can Winston say about his movie character's look in this upcoming role? Winston, what can you say?
Easiest thing I could say is that I was playing a slightly older version of myself. So I talking to the director, we went with kind of the 90s black dad mustache. So that kind of like, think for those that if you want a direct example, just to think about it, either think early, like first season of Fresh Prince with Uncle Phil, but a better example would be Ray from Sister Sister, the father of Tia.
Okay.
Like, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can just pull a photo real quick.
Yeah.
Right here. Yeah, let me see. I need to do a screen share. Boom. There we go.
What are you doing? Yeah, okay.
You should be able to pull it up now. I didn't screen share.
Yeah, so let me take down the comment. Hey, Tim Reed. You were doing the Tim Reed? Oh, yeah, that's Tim Reed.
You see what I'm saying? That 90s dad mustache. That was the kind of the look they were going that we decided on, since I was supposed to be a little bit older.
Wow. Look at that. That's Tim Reed, one of my favorite actors ever from, what do you call it? WKRP in Cincinnati. He's amazing.
Oh, yeah. See, I know he's been working a lot for forever.
Yeah.
But for me, that's the role that I see him 1,000% is as Ray from Sister Sister. And that's not to undercut anything else he did. You know how an actor does something that formatively, that's just who they are going forward.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. There's some good handlebar mustaches in this world too. Some brothers with some good handlebar mustaches. I mean, let's take a look. Look at that. You got to get the curl.
The curl's too much. That's a vaudevillian. The curl is the vaudevillian ass like villain. I can't do all that.
You could do the Isaac from the Love Boat. You could do that one. It's some good stuff. This is actually a self-portrait of Winston and Marshall right there.
Wow. I mean, look, I like to believe that I have those kinds of muscles.
Couple more dodgeball games. You're gonna get there, man. You're gonna get there.
There you go.
Oh man, so there you go. At least you didn't do the Jordan Hitler mustache. So you gotta stay away from that one. You gotta stay away.
Lord, no. I ain't got no shoes to sell.
Fantastic 314 says more support for Spillage. Dogma rocked.
God, I love that movie so much, man. It's in my my top 10 of all time. I had never got to see it in theaters because I was too young when it came out. My parents would have never signed off on that. But I saw it like when it was on, back when it used to be released on DVD and all that kind of stuff. And it's wedged in my brain.
What's his face? Is that the Kevin Smith one?
Kevin Smith, starring everybody. I mean, Jason Mewes and him, obviously Jay and Silent Bob again, but Ben Affleck and Matt Damon as Bartleby and Loki. Two disgruntled angels. You got Alan Rickman's in the movie. Alanis Morissette plays God. You got Chris Rock as Rufus the 13th Apostle. You got Selma Hayek as Serendipity the Muse. So many heavy hitters in that movie, and really explores what faith means. You know what I mean? Not taking shots at Christianity and Catholicism straight up, asking legitimate questions and doing it through comedy. But obviously we know how people get where they can't take a joke and explore things. They want to immediately get upset. It is a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I agree. I love that movie.
And Carlin is Cardinal Glick. I completely forgot Carlin crushes in that movie.
Right, George Carlin. I forgot about that too. Fantastic also says, hey, spilled a tequila. Superman has the weight of the DC and WB worlds to carry, which may be unfair, but for a lot of DC fans, needs to have some success for their franchise. Yeah, I seem to be in a place now, Winston, where I think it's going to be a box office success, if not maybe a full-on critical success. I feel like it's going to be a box office success. So it feels like right now. What do you think?
I think there is rarely a world where a Superman movie is going to bomb.
Yeah.
Because even as bad as Batman v Superman was, that movie made what, like 750, 800?
Yeah, it was a
something
lot,
like that. So like but what you need is, you don't just need a commercial success. You need people to go, I need more of this.
Yes.
That is the thing that has to come out of this. So you need it to, at minimum, be a box office smash. But your ideal scenario is it is a box office smash and a critical success. And people are like, yes, I want more. Because I do think superhero fatigue is real, but it's specifically real in the sense of getting more of the same formulaic shit. You need to get to the point where people feel the art, the emotion, the all of that tied to it, and they want to see more.
Yeah. $875 million is what it made on a budget ranging from 250 to 325, depending on who's giving you the budget. So,
but like all that being said, it was just so bad.
Yeah, I didn't like BVS either. And I love Man of Steel. I did not like BVS. Even the director's cut, or the Ultimate Edition, whatever it's called, I did not
It's
enjoy
certainly better, but I don't need a movie to be better because now it's 4 hours instead of 2.5, you know?
Yeah. All it did to me was highlight the problems even bigger, like even more, because there are so many large gaps before any action occurs. You just get into a situation where, figure this out. And I didn't like him as Lex at all, Jesse Eisenberg. So that ruined it for me in a lot of ways. Fredtastic also says Marvel, on the other hand, is holding their breath, hoping their fans come out to Fantastic Four repeatedly, because if they don't, then the MCU might openly scale back budgets and storylines so they don't fall too much in the red. Fred, I think they're already doing that, scaling back the budgets, don't you think, Winston, and slowing down the release calendar? That seems very obvious from how they're looking at it.
Absolutely, because they can't afford it. They can't afford otherwise. They have to chill out.
Yeah.
So that is 1,000% what they're doing.
Yeah. I see it coming all the time with that kind of thing with Marvel. They're very clear about where they're going now, and they want to limit what they do and how much they do. And I know some of you all enjoy these last two phases of characters. I think a lot of them are getting wiped out in Secret Wars, and we're never seeing them again as those characters, because they need to kind of. It's like the NFL. You got the cut day. And they're cutting some players that are not going to make the main roster. It seems.
Hey, you want to see something absolutely just devastating but accurate?
Sure.
I just shared it again. This is
colleges.
This is the top 50 most miserable fan bases in 2025. With the Dallas Mavericks fans being number one for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
The Cowboys also being there at number 2 just for the nonsense that's gone on endlessly. Did the A's leave Oakland yet?
That's why they're miserable, because it seems like that's what's happening. They haven't. I don't think they've officially said that, but yeah.
Texas A&M, I can't speak on that. I don't follow the college enough to do that. The Jets, that checks out. Again, more college, can't speak to this. The Angels, I get that. When the Dodgers took your generational player and they win a World Series his first year, and you just didn't do anything. Giants, I'm not surprised. Can't speak on more college in Nebraska. Can't really speak on SC except for the fact that poor Juju got hurt. But otherwise, I don't know specifically. What we're talking about, the Browns, that makes sense. How many quarterbacks? This is it. We finally found the one. Never happens.
Yep.
Poor Mets. The Suns. Yeah, you finally got to the finals and you got washed. Raiders checks out. Like, all of these teams make a lot of sense, but there is no doubt in my mind that the Dallas Mavericks fan base is by far the most miserable fan base in sports right now, because we're still hurting.
Even who went off on them lately I thought it was Don Nelson, one of the old.
Oh yeah, Don Nelson, long-time coach and then front office man for the Mavericks goes, hey, yeah, I'm actually wearing the new Lucas in protest because I thought that was the dumbest trade of all time.
Jesus. And now the Knicks are supposedly going to get trying to angle to get Jason Kidd to be their coach.
Yep.
And the Knicks are supposedly trying to get Kevin Durant from Phoenix, which is what I saw today. And I'm like, Jesus, God almighty, that's crazy on there. Spidey says, thank God the Bills aren't on there.
I mean, look, they hover. If Josh Allen wasn't winning MVPs, you don't think I like to that point. I know you're with him saying he's a Bills fan.
Yeah.
I know y'all frustrated. Spidey says, I know y'all frustrated because you go to 4 Super Bowls, not win a single one of them, and then be irrelevant for years. And now you're finally back in that relevancy. But like Patrick Mahomes keeps ruining your life.
Yeah,
oh my God. But yeah.
I think it's because Buffalo's used to disappointment. So it's no longer like it wasn't like we won it one year. They've never won it. So I feel like whereas the Browns were a once proud franchise that won championships before the Super Bowl era, the Bills never have been champions overall of the league in any version, iteration, or format. So there's just this sense of acceptance, right? And once they win it, though, then it becomes a situation, if they ever do, with Josh Allen.
Yeah, and I see Jeremy Miller in there being like, hey, that doesn't make sense with the Mavericks. They at least won a title in 2011. First of all, let's just do some quick maths. That was almost a full decade and a half ago. Is the first
14.
thing.
Yeah,
that was 14 years, which is crazy. A lot of things were different 14 years ago, man. Like my knees weren't this ridiculous. But you got to remember the reason why they're up there in that category. All of these other teams that we're looking at here point one of them to me that a generational, once in a lifetime talent was straight up ripped, not left you and being like, I don't want to be here, was ripped away from you by your own front office.
Yeah.
In any team. Like if you would like, I'm trying to let's see somebody else that's on here right now. I mean, all these teams kind of crazy, man. They're not.
The Vikings are on there. Are the Vikings on there?
The Vikings were here. The Vikings are on here. Let's say Justin Jefferson was just like, you know what? Nope, he's gone. You just got rid of Justin Jefferson. You didn't not even because you turned around and you're like, we got rid of Justin Jefferson, but we were actually able to finagle both CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf. So it was like, we kind of turned one into two. No. You traded Justin Jefferson for Devontae Adams on a 1-year deal, and he's hurt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Cooper Kupp, even better. Cooper Kupp. So when he's at his best, Triple Crown, man. You're like, damn. But he's a champion, won Finals MVP, won Super Bowl MVP for both Anthony Davis and him. All of that, great. Nah. No. That's why. It's literally you're getting your heart ripped out. And hopefully we get flagged. I see Jeremy Lewis saying you guys are getting flagged. I hope so. I don't trust ownership or Nico as far as I can throw them. So even then, he's not proven. He's been good in college, but he's not proven as a professional yet either.
Yeah. And I think the reason Kidd wants to leave is because, or if he wants to leave, I could see that because he took a lot of heat for that trade, along with what's his face there over there, the general manager for Dallas. Like they took a lot of heat, and so the idea, and I don't think he wants to rebuild and start all over again with a new young rookie kid coming in and dealing with Kyrie and Anthony Davis. So you go to the Knicks, which is a ready-made situation. You're going to coach a guy you've already coached in Jalen Brunson. So I like the idea. I don't think it's necessarily going to work because I don't think he's that great of a coach. But you could do worse than him to bring him over to be your coach there in New York, and he can handle the spotlight, no problem.
That's fair. Okay, real quick, I see Carolina Boy 90 wants to smoke. Come on, bring this comment up real quick.
Where's the Carolina Boy 90? I don't see it.
Saying Mavs fans can kick rocks. You don't see that? Looks about 4 comments up.
Oh, there it is. Mavs fans can kick rocks. Y'all lose one player, about to get another generational player. Try being a Hornets fan. Ooh.
First of all, you're gonna act like you don't have LaMelo Ball and you just ain't doing everything in your power to actually like rise this young man up. He's been crushing. And you guys did nothing to try. And so first of all, miss me with that shit. Second of all, I want you to tell me that somebody that is potentially the best player in the league, if not top 3, got ripped away from you. Was the heir apparent? You want to turn around and tell me that you wouldn't be ready to burn this bitch to the ground for at least a full year? Come on, man. Don't do that. Don't do that.
People forget
he's
how
injury
good.
prone, and apparently Luca's fat. Leave me alone. Get the fuck up out of here.
Have you seen the video of him lifting 700 pounds with his legs?
Luca looks fantastic right now, and I cannot wait for his revenge tour. And I hope every time he plays the Mavs, we cheer his name just like we did when he was in Dallas the last time. And I hope he just fully embarrasses Nico. I hope Nico makes the stupidest faces. How does he still have a job? I really want to know how he still has a job.
Because they got to stand by him, I guess. Owen Lanning says, if you guys just did a one-time-a-month mental health episode, that would be amazing. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. It depends. This was kind of organic, so I don't know. We could have just skipped all the topics and talked about life and whatever. That would have been fine. Winston and I certainly could do that for an hour and a half. So we'll see, Owen. We'll see. But I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate you being in support of that. Paul Hitchcock says, thoughts on Silver and the NBA forced the Luka trade. I don't think that's true.
Look.
Is that a rumor?
There's two conspiracies, and I believe them both. The first one is that ownership, other than Nico having beef with Luka as is, that ownership is using this as a means, again, to force hands so they can either get their Texas casinos or they can move the team to Vegas. Both are very serious, conspiracy theories that we're never going to get an answer to, but when you just look at the political landscape of what they've been doing in Texas to try and get their casino, makes sense. And the Dumonts are not good people. It's been proven time and time again that they're not. So that doesn't surprise me. But the other one is Adam Silver, knowing that you have a scenario where the NBA isn't necessarily doing as well as it should be. It's actually losing a lot of viewership in America. So there's been a big push to go international, especially because they have more international stars. If you take one of the storied franchises in the NBA, arguably the biggest, the Celtics have more chips, but arguably the biggest franchise that you see worldwide, and that's between Magic and Kobe and Shaq and LeBron and now Luka, is the Lakers. You send arguably the biggest international player. It's like him and Joker, but a lot of people know Luka because of the attitude. And you put him on the Lakers. What does that instantly do? So there are both are conspiracy theories that are flowing around in there, and that is also why. The second one almost feels a little more poignant, and maybe they're actually combined. 1.8%. 1.8% that you get the fucking number one overall draft pick and on top of that, in the same fucking year that you watch this fan base ready to burn down the American Airlines Center. You would have actually been sending the National Guard to Dallas if things had the way they were antagonizing us, and Nico would say that stupid shit. So I actually believe that there's something to that. You can't really convince me, kind of not otherwise, especially knowing that the Lakers very rarely go longer than a couple of years without, if not the biggest star in the league, top three. Yeah.
Craziness. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Doug says, imagine where we'd be had Garland done his job. I don't know what that means. Which Garland is he talking about?
I don't know. I don't know when that came in.
I don't know. It came in right around the time that Batman v Superman. We're talking about, Batman v Superman. So I don't know who Garland is.
I don't know, like Alex Garland?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Sorry, Doug. Can you let us know what that means in the chat? Fred says Washington just missed the cut. Lucky road. Well, we got ourselves a rookie quarterback. That's what we got, a generational player.
You went to the NFC Championship with your rookie. That'll fucking do it, bro. Ain't miserable no more.
No. Even if Terry's holding out. God damn it, Terry. Merrick Garland. Right. If Merrick Garland. Fair point. Yeah, Merrick. Oh, so true, man. Is that all the super chats? I think so. And let's see if there's one more Streamlabs. Yeah, Doug sent another one. Good news, Rocha. Many media outlets predict a Commanders-Bills Super Bowl. Unfortunately, I'd bet the farm on the Bills, though. Allen wins Super Bowl MVP. Haley Steinfeld wins an Oscar. It's written in the stars. Well, I would be quite happy, win or lose, to get in the Super Bowl, considering where we've been in the dumpster fire for 3 decades. So if that's our next step, we get there. I don't think we will. I think we're still building as a team. We're still accruing assets, and we're still getting better. I don't think we're there yet to win a Super Bowl, but hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, we're in contention like the Chiefs were.
I was going to say, if I had to guess, I think you guys slide back. I don't think you make it back to the NFC Championship game, but I do think you make it to the divisional, the conference round. The conference round is the championship. So the divisional round. I think you make it. I think you get to the divisional round and you lose before you get to the NFC Championship. Right. But I genuinely think within the next 2 to 3 years you will win the Super Bowl. You'll at least be there. You'll at least be at this. You'll be in the Super Bowl for the next 2 to 3 years. Yes. Winning it is hard to say because there's too many really good fucking teams.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden, you know, you never know what can happen. You want to protect him, and certainly they've said him with Jeremy Tunsil, but we'll see, or Larry Tunsil rather. We'll see what the end, because I still don't think we've got a great group of wide receivers. Even adding Debo, we got to
see what Debo can still do.
Right, and running backs as well. I like Brian Robinson, but we need a more traditional running back. And then our defense needs to get a little bit younger on the linebacker side. So there's things that need to get adjusted. We're not there yet. So my expectations are.
But Quinn got them boys playing the way Dan Campbell has them boys playing in Detroit, and that speaks volumes as far as how all of that goes.
And I bet you, Winston, Dan Campbell would trade Jared Goff for Jaden Daniels right now. I bet he would absolutely do that right now. So. In that situation. So we will see. We will see. But all right, that's it. I think that's all the stream. That's all the super chats. We're at 90 minutes. We got to go. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us with Spill the Teaquila. And thanks to all of you. Hey, like I said, I had a really bad day today. Hanging out with all of you, hanging out with Winston A, having some back and forths and having fun conversations. They help. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here on the show. Winston A, as I said, thank you so much. Please let people know where they can find you and what you got going on, man.
Absolutely. You can find me at the Swaggy Blurred on all platforms. Come check it out. Let's see. I'm really excited. I just wrote one of my first video essays in a long time for the channel. People have been asking who I thought I get into some more like kind of cerebral stuff and other things, but in this case, someone had asked me what I thought the makeup of Sam Wilson's Avengers team, because at the end of Thunderbolts, you get the new Avengers being like, we're being sued by Sam Wilson because he's saying we tried to steal the name of the Avengers. So I put together a list of who I think his initial team will be. Now, this doesn't mean who I think will be in the Avengers by the time the Doom shit really gets heavy. But when the movie starts, I have written that script. So I'm going to film that tonight. And then hopefully I'll get it out by Thursday. But at the very least, I'll get it out by this weekend.
Nice. I hear there's some out of the box choices from you, so
there are a few. some where I'm actively poking the bear. It's kind of fun.
But yeah, definitely follow Winston on all his stuff. Watch all his stuff. Give it views. Subscribe to it. Give it likes, y'all. It's important to have the engagement on these things, and I appreciate Winston doing the show with me every week. And as for me, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's the number one thing. So close to crossing that 40,000 subscribers mark. Help us get there as soon as possible so we can start marching to 50,000. Leave your comments down below on everything we talked about, your feelings on everything we went through, even answering some of the Streamlabs Super Chat questions. What do you think about some of those questions? We appreciate that, all of that here on the channel. And follow me at the Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and everywhere else where it's around. All right, look forward to Geek Buddies later this week. Look forward to Hot Mike and the Jedi Way squaring up real soon as well. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of Spill the Teaquila. Peace, everybody. Peace.